Good evening, everyone. At this time, I call to order the DeKalb Board of Education business meeting, Tuesday, April 1, 2014, 7 p.m. Board members present: Dr. Melvin Johnson, Mr. Dr. James McMahon, Mr. David Campbell, Dr. Karen Carter, Mr. John Coleman, Dr. Michael Irwin. He's here. He's here now. Mr. Thad Mayfield, Dr. George Morley, Mr. Marshall Orson, our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Michael Thurman, Teacher Forum Council Steering Committee representatives, Ms. Inez Caldwell, Mr. David High, Teacher Forum Council Steering Committee alternative representatives, Ms. Donna Nelson, Ms. Carlene Pippins, DeKalb Auxiliary Employees Forum representative, Mr. Terrell Short, DeKalb County PTA Council representative, Mrs. Nina McBean. Okay. SPLOST Oversight Committee representative, Mr. Paul Baser. Student representative from Druid Hills High School, and we want you to stand up so you can be recognized, Mr. Jacob Pierce. At this time, we have our inspiration and pledge of allegiance by Mr. Jim McMahon.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to go in reverse order for the inspiration and pledge. I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance first. If everybody can stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And also, board members, if y'all don't mind walking down to the floor on the sides for a special inspirational message. My inspiration I get is from our students. We work hard up here, our administration does, the board works hard to try to fund all the programs that we can. And so I participate in my kids' lives, I participate in the communities, in our schools. And Saturday night, I participated, I went to Lakeside High School and saw a performance by our arts department, our students, and they have been gracious enough to come and perform for us this evening. Not a lot, just one song. But with that, I'd like to introduce to you Seth, Lydia, and Taylor from Shrek the Musical for our enjoyment. Seth?
Thank you very much, sir. All right. I guess I'd be a hero with sword and armor clashing, looking semi-dashing, a shield within my grip. Or else I'd be a Viking and live a life of daring while smelling like a herring. Upon a Viking ship, I'd sail away, I'd see the world, I'd reach the farthest reaches, I'd feel the wind, I'd taste the salt and sea, and maybe storm some I'd be. That's who I'd be. Or I could be a poet and write a different story, one that tells of glory and wipes away the lies. To the skies I'd throw it, the stars would do the telling, the moon would help with spelling, and night would dot the eyes. I'd write a verse, recite a joke with wit and perfect timing. I'd share my heart, confess the things I yearn, and do it all while rhyming. But we all learn, an ogre always hides, an ogre's fate is known, an ogre always stays in the dark and all alone. So yes, I'd be a hero, and if my wish were granted, life would be enchanted, or so the stories say. Of course I'd be a hero, and I would scale a tower to save a hothouse flower and carry her away. But standing guard would be a beast. I'd somehow overwhelm it. I'd get the girl, I'd take a breath, and I'd remove my helmet. We'd stand and stare, we'd speak of love, we'd feel the stars ascending, we'd share a kiss, I'd find my destiny, I'd have a hero's ending, a perfect happy ending. That's how it would be, a big, bright, beautiful world, but not for me. An ogre always stays in the dark and all alone. So yes, I'd be a hero, and if my wish were granted, all enchanted. So the stories say. Of course I'd be a hero. I would scale a tower to save a hothouse flower and carry her away. A perfect happy ending. That's how it should be.
And just for everybody's knowledge, makeup and getting the kids ready took 2 hours just to get here before tonight. So as soon as school was over, they got into makeup, everything, taking care of business just for our help tonight. So once again, I'd like to thank them very much. Take that. Thank you so much. Yeah, for the recognitions? Yeah. That was your jacket. I didn't have my ears. That's right.
So could I ask all of the winners from the GAETC State Technology Fair to come up? And if you have teachers, administrators, parents, y'all can come up too. All right, this is a crew. So for those of you who don't know, the Georgia Education State Technology Fair is an annual student technology competition produced by the Georgia Educational Technology Consortium. The Georgia Educational State Technology Fair is the highest level of student technology competition in Georgia, with over 400 projects which are judged at the competition each spring. This competition was started in 2001 by Lou Dewberry and is open to all 3rd through 12th grade students residing in the state of Georgia. And the exciting thing is we have a number of students who are incredibly successful at this technology fair. These are our future Mark Zuckerbergs and Jeff Bezoses, I guess, right? And what we're going to do real quick is just acknowledge each of these individual students. And students, when we call your name, if you just kind of wave to the crowd so everybody knows who you are, that would be great, okay? So let's start off with Shri Bhatt. Shri. So Shri, yeah, let's clap for each of them. Is a 10th grade student at Lakeside High School, and Shri placed first in Web 2.0 applications at the fair, so that's a remarkable achievement. We have Alex Rice. Alex. So Alex is a 4th grade student at Brockett Elementary School who placed first in project programming at the fair, so wonderful achievement. Do we have Noah Benvenista? So Noah is a 9th grade student at Chamblee Charter High School who placed second at the fair in project programming. Congratulations. December O. December is a 3rd grade student at Jolly Elementary School who placed second in case modification. Congratulations, December. Sarah Grace Wright. Sarah. Sarah is an 8th grade student at Chamblee Middle School who placed second in digital video editing. So congratulations, Sarah. Do we have Tori Bryant and Jalen Moses? That's great. So as a tag team, they are 7th grade students at the DeKalb Academy of Technology and the Environment who placed 3rd in game design. So congrats. Do we have Isabella Carbone and Victoria Ordonez? Another tag team, 6th grade students at Kittredge Magnet School who placed 3rd in animated graphic design. And Eden Epstein. So Eden is a 10th grade student at Chamblee Charter High who placed 3rd in digital photography. So once again, we just congratulate all of you, and it is requested that the Board of Education recognize the 2004 Georgia Educational State Technology Fair winners. Great job.
Can we have the Redan Lady Raiders to come up front? We've had drama, we've had technology, now we move to athletics. Just shows you what the DeKalb County School District can do. We cover all the bases. Give them a round of applause. Whereas the DeKalb County school system is dedicated to developing students academically as well as athletically, and whereas the #1 ranked Redan Lady Raiders girls basketball team, notice what I said, #1 ranked Redan Lady Raiders girls basketball team, under the direction of Coach Jerry Jackson, captured the 2014 Class Quad A State Basketball Championship, and whereas the Redan Lady Raiders defeated #2 ranked Columbia 63-53 on Thursday, March 6, 2014, in the Class Quad A State Championships game at the Centroplex in Macon, Georgia, and whereas Redan's victory secured the second girls basketball state title for the school, having also won the Class Quad A title in 2009. And whereas the Lady Raiders defeated Walnut Grove 97-38, Northwest Whitfield 67-35, #9 Fayette County 52-45, and #5 South Effingham 60-40. In the first 4 rounds of the state playoffs to reach the championship in the title against the #2 ranked Columbus. And whereas Redan compiled a season record of 33 wins, 33, against 0 losses, on the way to the 2014 Class Quad A crown to become the first DeKalb County team to go undefeated twice. Undefeated twice. While winning state championships, Redan is just one of the Georgia's schools girls basketball teams and basketball program to go undefeated twice while winning a state title, including the 27-0 and Class Quad A state title in 2009. And whereas the 33-0 mark is a school record for consecutive wins in the season, and DeKalb County made in basketball, boys and girls. So boys and girls, this 33-0 win is from boys and girls, so not just girls. Therefore, we, the DeKalb County Board of Education, do hereby acknowledge the great athletic accomplishments of the Redan Lady Raiders, having achieved one of the highest levels attainable by a high school basketball team. In official recognition whereof, we hereby affix our signatures this first day of April 2014. Congratulations, Redan Raiders girls basketball team.
One more hand for Redan girls. Now we got some more ladies in the house who are champs. Just start off with the whereas. Tucker, please come to the front. Ladies and gentlemen, whereas the DeKalb County school system is dedicated to developing students academically as well as athletically, and whereas the Tucker Lady Tigers girls basketball team, under the direction of Coach Robin Potter, captured the 2014 Class 5A State Basketball Championship, and whereas the Tucker Lady Tigers defeated #1 ranked and fellow DeKalb foe Southwest DeKalb 83-65 on Friday, March 7, 2014, in the Class 5A State Championship game at the Centraplex in Macon, Georgia. And whereas Tucker's victory secured the first girls basketball state title for the school in its first championship game appearance, and whereas the Lady Tigers defeated Gainesville 55-49, number 6 Osborne 65-59, number 4 Salem 55-39, and number 2 Drew 54-38 in the first 4 rounds of the state playoffs to reach the championship title against defending champion Southwest DeKalb. And whereas the 2014 Class 5A title game marked the 3rd consecutive year for 2 DeKalb County teams to play for the championship. In the 2nd largest classification in Georgia, and the 3rd consecutive year to win the title. And whereas Tucker compiled a season record of 29 wins against only 4 losses on the way to the 2014 Class 5A crown, and therefore we, the DeKalb Board of Education, do hereby acknowledge the great athletic accomplishment of the Tucker Lady Tigers, having achieved one of the highest levels attainable by a high school basketball team. In official recognition whereof we hereby affix our signatures this first day of April 2014. Congratulations, Lady Tigers.
Okay, let's take a moment and recognize some boys basketball, men basketball. Will the Miller Grove Wolverines come around front, please? I think so too. Just- wow. Miller Grove. Whereas the DeKalb County school system is dedicated to developing students academically as well as athletically. And whereas the Miller Grove High School boys Wolverine boys basketball team, under the direction of Coach Sharman White, captured the 2014 Class 5A State Basketball Championship. And whereas the Wolverines defeated the then number 5 ranked Warner Robins Demons 70-43 on Friday, March 7th, 2014 in Class 5A State Championship game at the Centralplex in Macon, Georgia. And whereas Miller Grove's victory secured the team's 6th consecutive state championship while becoming number 6, amazing, while becoming the first DeKalb County and State of Georgia boys basketball program to win 6 consecutive state titles. And whereas the Wolverines also won the 2009, 2010, 2011, and 2012 Class 4A state championships, and the 2013 Class 5A state championship, while piling up 30 consecutive state playoff victories. Amazing. And whereas Miller Grove compiled a season record of 28 wins against 5 losses, a 28-5 record, on the way to the Class 5A crown. And whereas the Wolverines defeated Gainesville 66-23, Villarica 69-49, number 7 and fellow DeKalb County foe Tucker 67-55, and number 3 Jenkins 69-52 in the first 4 rounds of the state playoffs to reach the title game against number 5 Warner Robins. And whereas the Wolverines dedicated this season and championship to the memory of freshman Tyrell Coleman, who passed away just before the season and had his number 24 jersey on the bench during the record-setting state title game. Therefore, we, the DeKalb County Board of Education, do hereby acknowledge the great athletic accomplishments of the Miller Grove Wolverines, having achieved one of the highest levels attainable by a high school basketball team in official recognition, wherefore we hereby affix our signatures this first day of April 2014. Thank you and congratulations.
Superintendent Thurman asked me to come up to say a couple things about this season. This season was very, very challenging for these young men. As you know, we had a young man by the name of Tyrell Coleman to actually pass the day before we started official basketball practice. And so we started the season with a big challenge in front of us, and not just from the standpoint of playing basketball games, but to take these young men and show them a phase of life that we all, have to experience at some point, but to be able to deal with it and be able to, take it to another level, in which what they did. I was telling them throughout the season that adversity shows either how weak or how strong you are, and these young men showed strong throughout the season, playing for their brother and playing for his family, Mr. Rashawn Coleman and Mr. Willie Coleman. We were inspired the whole time, and our goal was the same, to win the championship like it is every year, but our purpose was just different. We wanted to win for his family, and like I say, my hat's off to these young men for just staying the course and tying together strong as a brotherhood and playing for their brother. And we know that we brought just a little bit of joy to their family by winning the championship, because we know we can't bring Terrell back, but we know we can just try to bring a little bit of joy to the family, and that's why we played with such heavy hearts this whole season. So we just wanted to say that and let everybody know for all the support that was given from the DeKalb County school system, from the superintendent, from our community at large, from our administration staff at Miller Grove. We really bonded together as a community, and it really made it worth the while for these young men to learn a valuable lesson in life. It's not taken for granted. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, fellow members of the board, Superintendent Thurman, and assembled guests here. We've seen the arts tonight, and we've seen technology, we've seen great athletic accomplishments, and now we have the opportunity to honor one of our own employees. Our honoree tonight is one of our bus drivers who has been serving the system for 42 years. And I want to talk a little bit about bus drivers. As somebody who's a parent of 2 students who virtually every day since my kids were in kindergarten have gotten on the school bus, taken it to school when it was 6:45 in the morning, and taken it from school. I remember the kindergarten teacher asked me when I sent my oldest one on the bus the first day, she asked me why I did it, and I said, well, she was going to take it on the second day, she might as well take it on the first. And the reason why I thought that was important is our bus drivers are the first point of contact every day with our students. The first face they see, we entrust their lives to those bus drivers, and they are the last person we see. So the person we are honoring tonight, Rachel Harris, has been a bus driver for the DeKalb County School District for 42 years. So she began driving in 1972, 42 years. I mean, that's amazing. She has driven almost every kind of bus, including a stick shift, which I can't imagine how hard that is. She has always loved her job working with children. She has just had a stellar work history with the DeKalb County School District. And so as a result, let me read this certificate of appreciation. This certificate is awarded to Rachel Harris in recognition of 42 years of service as a bus driver in the DeKalb County School District. Thank you for your outstanding dedication and commitment to the children of DeKalb County. And it is signed by our chair and our superintendent, and she deserves a wonderful hand. Thank you.
Thank you for those wonderful recognitions, and certainly I want to thank Mr. McMahon for a wonderful inspiration, and we appreciate the Shriek group and Shrink group, the Shrek musical group, and certainly we want to acknowledge all of our recognitions, and certainly they are well deserved. At this time, we will have our superintendent to make an introduction.
First, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I want to introduce Ms. Stacy Stepney. Earlier today, there was an agenda item regarding the purchase of new band uniforms and equipment here in DeKalb County. Two things that have been delayed at least 3 years, and we're very excited. And I'm introducing Ms. Stacy Stepney, and she'll provide additional details and introduce 3 other special guests who are dressed out to the T, from what I can see.
Dr. Johnson, members of the board, Superintendent Thurman, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to bring our guests forward this evening. We have Mr. Quentin Goen from Stevenson High School. Mr. Lorenzo Moore, Redan High School. Mr. Don Roberts will represent Mr. Ralph Freeman for Columbia High School this evening. Board, we would like to thank you because band uniforms have not been ordered in DeKalb County School District since October 2011. Because of your due diligence and your willingness to give us $300,000, we were able to provide to Cross Keys High School, Redan, Stevenson, and Stone Mountain High Schools $25,000 each to purchase instruments. This is to replace outdated, damaged, obsolete equipment. In addition, we're able to take the balance and purchase band uniforms. So we will be purchasing band uniforms for Columbia, Redan, and Stevenson. Our students dressed before you this evening have on the prototypes, and they are proud of their uniforms. I would like to say to the audience that this year our band directors, along with the principals, the band boosters, and students, were creative. Instead of having one uniform, the students are modeling 3-in-1 is what I like to call it. They have opportunities to showcase different uniforms on the field because they're adding unique vests or bibbers. Sorry about that, Mr. Roberts. Bibbers. So the students will show you their bibbers. You can flip to the other side. And Stevenson has the 3-in-1. And Columbia as well. And the unique thing about the uniforms is that they are durable and made to last for 7 years, we hope. Once again, Board of Education, we thank you for believing in our students and investing in our future. Our uniforms are long overdue, but because of you, we will be able to purchase uniforms for our boys and girls, and we thank you.
Thank you so much. Step lively, gentlemen. Now, Mr. Chairman, I would like to, in a more detailed way, you've already introduced our student representative, Mr. Jacob Pierce. Mr. Pierce is an 11th grader at Druid Hills High School, where he has a 4.1 grade point average. He currently serves as the junior class president. When asked about his future aspirations, he stated that he would like to pursue a career in, you guessed it, politics and public service. Jacob enjoys reading the news, hanging out with friends, and debating politics. When asked why he would like to participate in a DeKalb School Board of Education meeting, he stated that he wants to see the true process. He wants to see the sausage being made. He wants to really see and understand what the Board of Education does to support schools and the community. He feels that this opportunity will help him learn how to voice concerns of his peers and to advocate for his community. I would like to once again, and we should welcome an outstanding student, a young man who's destined for greatness, Mr. Jacob Pierce.
Mr. Pierce, I would like to welcome you and certainly acknowledge the fact that feel free to ask questions, but you're sitting beside someone over there that we can limit your time in terms of your questions. Maybe you should sit on this side. Joke, that's a private joke. We're talking about individuals who ask a lot of questions. But, at this time, I call for a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Mr. McMahon, second by Mr. Coleman. Is there any discussion?
Off the agenda for tonight. Yes. So I think we need to amend the agenda to take 14 off.
Number 14? Oh, okay. Well, before then, I call for a motion then to amend the agenda to take number 14 off the agenda. Marshall, would you make the recommendation, Mr. McMahon?
I move that we take number 14 off the agenda. We're deferring it to a later meeting.
Okay. Moved in second that we remove item 14 to a later meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. Well, since that, well, we're here. Dr. Marley? Okay. And just for informational purposes, we added two committees to the consent agenda, and one item regarding the planning for a meeting to commence the planning session for the superintendent search, and that will commence at the June meeting. And another committee we moved to the consent agenda was to have two board members on the RFQ legal review committee. That's just for the citizens' input. Now I call for a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Mr. Orson, second by Dr. Marley. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. Passes 9-0. At this time, we'll have superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, Mr. Trenton Arnold has led a committee that has explored the various aspects and opportunities afforded through school flexibility options. And he is here tonight to make a final report and to preface what will be my recommendation to the board in terms of our work going forward as it relates to the structure of the DeKalb County School District. Mr. Arnold.
Dr. Johnson, members of the board, and Mr. Thurman. Thank you very much for the opportunity to provide you with an update regarding the district's Flexibility Advisory Committee and its findings and drafting of an executive summary for the superintendent. As a general reminder, all school districts in Georgia have a legal obligation requiring them to notify the Georgia Department of Education no later than June 30th, 2015 of their intention to request increased flexibility and waivers from state laws and Georgia Department of Education policies and regulations, or to remain as they currently operate under the confines of Title 20 and Department of Education policies. What is being offered to districts is increased autonomy, including waivers from state laws, rules, and guidelines, and the flexibility to innovate in exchange for greater accountability and higher student performance expectations. This law presents opportunities to districts across the state because many systems, including DeKalb, currently seek waivers from state law and Department of Education policies. For example, DeKalb and many other districts have requested waivers to allow for increased class sizes due to fiscal reasons. However, on July 1st, 2015, no more waivers will be granted except in cases of natural disasters. This is of great significance to any district that is currently receiving waivers, as just discussed. In order to respond to this legal requirement, the district established its Flexibility Advisory Committee, which is also referred to as the FAC. The original timeline presented to the Board of Education at the November 4th, 2013 business meeting had the FAC beginning its work no later than December 13th, 2013. Because members of the District Strategic Planning Committee were focused on long-term objectives for the district, it was logical to ask that they continue their work as members of the Flexibility Advisory Committee. These individuals had already assisted DeKalb in the drafting of the district's new mission, vision, beliefs, and strategic goals, so a clear nexus between their work on the Strategic Planning Committee and the work of the FAC became apparent. As a result, the Flexibility Advisory Committee is currently comprised of parents, teachers, community members, parent council leaders, principals, a board member, and central office staff. It was then determined that the FAC would have 3 charges. The first charge was to review the elements associated with the state's recommended flexibility options, including, but not limited to, waivers from Title 20, fiscal impact, governance implications, accountability and performance evaluations, and consequences. The second charge was to build the knowledge base to develop an executive summary for the superintendent detailing these options and their impact on the district. And the third charge will be to monitor the district's drafting of all final documents associated with the superintendent's recommendation. I am happy to report tonight to the board that thanks to the hard work and dedication from the members of the Flexibility Advisory Committee, the first 2 charges have been completed as assigned. I know that we have some of our FAC members with us here tonight, and many are probably watching this broadcast of this meeting. I would just like to take a moment to publicly thank them for all of their work and all that they've done for the children of the DeKalb County School District during this process. In order to complete the required executive summary, the FAC took some extraordinary steps to build their knowledge base on the Investing in Educational Excellence option, the charter system option, and the status quo option. Materials from the Georgia Department of Education and the Governor's Office of Student Achievement were studied and taken into consideration during the 5 FAC meetings held over December, January, February, and early March. The FAC then took the time to review system data for those school districts already operating as an IE squared or charter system. This data included recent performance on college and career-ready performance indicators, graduation data, SAT results, as well as updated reports from state agencies as to how well those districts were doing in meeting any required performance metrics. The FAC also spent over 2 weeks reviewing the questions and comments that were presented during the community engagement sessions that were held across the district's 5 regions in January and early February. This required an examination and synthesis of almost 200 questions and comments, where common threads were identified and discussed and determined to be critical pieces of information to be included in the executive summary. The final meeting of the FAC gave the members an opportunity to work collaboratively in making edits and recommendations for the executive summary in order that it accurately presented factors found by both the FAC and citizen comments to be necessary considerations in the superintendent's decision-making process. Those considerations are as follows. From the FAC members, local school autonomy and governance became a strong point for consideration. The district would need to clearly detail how any autonomy would be provided to schools and at what level, particularly as it relates to the need for increased parental and community engagement and any required training and the ability for local schools to request school-specific waivers. Members of the FAC also noted that increased student performance must be the bottom line. The options being provided by the state are put into place to allow innovation and flexibility so as to increase student performance. District and school level metrics should be established and monitored. The FAC also wanted there to be clarity and understanding that districts choosing the IE squared option must enumerate all waivers on the front end of drafting any contract with the state, while the charter system option, on the other hand, allows broad flexibility from almost all of Title 20 and Georgia DOE policies and regulations. This was determined by the FAC to be a critical piece as it relates to the ability of the district to truly identify and list the waivers necessary to support the various unique and differing needs of all the district schools, as an IE squared contract might require, versus the ability of the district to obtain a blanket waiver with the charter system option. Additional critical points from the FAC focused on the role of the central office as it relates to selected flexibility options. The district must clearly define its role in governance as a centralized, decentralized, or distributed central office, and each flexibility option defines its role differently. Furthermore, there are multiple funding implications that must be considered as well, including district budgeting, assigning funds to the local school level, and state funding formulas associated with each option. The FAC's final consideration focused upon the consequences associated with each option, including loss of waivers, possible loss of controls of schools that fail to meet set performance objectives, and so forth. As stated earlier, several threads and themes from the community engagement sessions became apparent to the FAC when those comments and questions from the citizens were examined closely. As with the FAC members, an identified critical concern from the community focused on autonomy and governance. However, this focus was on a broader application of autonomy and governance, particularly as it relates to for the district to define local school autonomy should it be offered through one of the flexibility options. The need for strong leadership at all schools to help lead that governance and autonomy, the assurances from the district that the autonomy would function as designed and strong school level leadership would not overshadow those efforts, and that local school governance must be equitable throughout the district. Another common thread was class size and the need for innovative options to address classrooms with large numbers of students. Community members saw that any decision made should be one that best allows a district to reduce teacher-to-student ratio as much as possible. Community comments and questions also saw the importance of the district considering some type of needs-based funding, zero-based budgeting, and/or budget transparency so as to place as many resources as possible back in the schools, as well as a need for the district to clarify how the selected flexibility option would impact current magnet, theme, and conversion charter schools and the community support of those programs. Moving forward, the district will submit an official letter of intent to the Georgia Department of Education to clearly identify which flexibility option the district will choose to pursue. At the May 5th Board of Education business meeting, further updates will be provided to the board and public, including a more detailed timeline to allow the district to still reach its November 1st, 2014 target for submitting all required documents to the Georgia Department of Education, as well as the formation of a steering committee to draft those documents and the FAC's role in meeting its third charge of monitoring the district's drafting of all final documents associated with the superintendent's recommendation. So, with that being said, at this time I would like to turn the presentation over to Superintendent Thurman, who will now provide the district's intention to comply with the requirements found in OCGA 20-3-81.3.
Thank Mr. Arnold, the members of the FAC committee, the stakeholders, internal and external, who participated in the various community meetings, and to really congratulate each and every one of you for your dedication and your service and your commitment to this process. Mr. Chair, members of the board, since first arriving in DeKalb, this board has directed the superintendent and this administration to focus on the desire and the need to first decentralize and push resources to the local level. That was a major focus of my 90-day plan. Increase student performance, particularly as it relates to underperforming students, to identify them and to develop intervention strategies. That was a part and continues to be of the strategic plan. To highlight district assets and build support for parental engagement, a critical component of the Bridge Initiative. And in order to sharpen this focus and to allow for a full range of flexibility, autonomy, and innovation across all of the district schools, it is my recommendation that the DeKalb County School District submit a charter petition to the Georgia Department of Education and to seek charter system status as required by the official code of Georgia 22-81.3. It is important to note that the needs described above are not just solely recognized and identified by this superintendent. In fact, they have been found to be critical to the future success of this district, as noted by multiple stakeholders and individuals, and noted particularly by the Flexibility Advisory Committee and the participants in the community engagement sessions. By choosing to pursue a charter system option, the district and its schools do not limit themselves to only a few enumerated waivers as required by IE Squared, nor are they at the mercy and whim of the Georgia Department of Education or the state legislature by remaining a status quo system and requesting no waivers. Additionally, by selecting the charter system option, the DeKalb School District is not only allowing its performance metrics to be solely tied to the state's accountability system. Decision may also allow for a measurement of growth by the Georgia Department of Education, known as beating the odds, to determine the overall success of our district. This board, and particularly the members of this board, led by Dr. Johnson, have insisted on increased flexibility and autonomy, insisted that it be moved from the central office to the local school level, and they have encouraged this superintendent and this administration to allow for innovation in exchange for increased student performance expectations. It should be noted that a primary expectation found within DeKalb's proposed charter would be that this autonomy and flexibility be earned by schools. Local school leadership, both from administrators and stakeholders, must demonstrate the ability to exercise increased authority. Where capacity is present, a process will be established to give those schools the first opportunity to attain that autonomy. However, if increased capacity is needed, the district will work with those schools to provide them the support and the skills needed to navigate through the world and the world of autonomy. The capacity will come in the form of a local school governing council whose function and structure and guidance will be defined by the proposed charter petition. Furthermore, the possibility exists for the district charter to not only support flexibility and innovation and autonomy at the local level, but it should also allow for potential collaboration among schools within a region as well as within high school clusters. Our proposed charter, I believe, will offer every school the same opportunities to exercise flexibility and autonomy. Not a few, but every school leader, all the parents, and all the students who might benefit. The DeKalb County School District has historically been among the state's leaders in supporting innovation through the establishment of both conversion and startup charter systems. There are few districts in Georgia or in the South or the United States of America that has done more to encourage charter innovation. Our proposed charter system option will allow all the district schools the same opportunity. Let me repeat. The proposed charter system document that we hope to develop will allow all the schools in the DeKalb School District the same opportunity through the petition and bind the district to support local school autonomy and flexibility for all schools and all students. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is my recommendation. And with your permission, we would like the opportunity to, in May, at the May meeting, to present a more detailed timeline as to the next steps in developing a charter that will be submitted later this year to the State Board of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Is there any discussion? No discussion.
Don't encourage me.
Mr. Mayfield, you on?
Yeah, just one request, if it's possible. Will we also have an opportunity, Mr. Superintendent, to at least have a sense of what the organizational structure might look like at that May meeting? Or is that too soon?
It would be too soon. First, we need to develop a timeline and a process for input by the board as well as by stakeholders, internal and external. As you can imagine, Mr. Mayfield, the most critical aspect is to make sure that all the stakeholders have the opportunity to be heard and to participate in the process. I would think, Mr. Arnold, that's the first step. Absolutely. Before we get to what may or may not be included in the petition itself.
And also to keep in mind, the third charge of the FAC is to oversee this process. So all those community members, parent council leaders, so forth, will also be watching and monitoring the district's drafting of this petition to make sure it meets those charges and concerns that were first noted during this process.
Mr. Pierce?
Okay. I just want to get clarification on something. You said that you wanted to increase local autonomy within the school district and that you wanted to sort of make DeKalb more like a charter kind of county. And so my question is, late last year, my school tried to become a charter cluster, and if the goal is to try to increase local autonomy, why was that cluster denied, is my question.
Well, of course, the board voted 5-4 to deny the charter, and I can't speak for the board, but I will speak on behalf of the administration. When you become, as a superintendent, your job is to ensure that every child in the district has an equal access and opportunity to receive a quality education. And a part of that is to ensure that the resources that we have are used in a way that does not undermine the ability of one group of students vis-a-vis other groups of students. And my primary concern with the charter cluster that was presented was that it would have a negative budgetary impact on the district, even though it may or may not have helped students within that cluster. I was concerned, and I remain concerned, that it would have had a negative impact on the 95,000 other students who attend school in DeKalb. Now, that was just debate, discussion, and there are many opinions about that. But if DeKalb becomes a charter system, then the positive aspects of what may have been included in the charter that you referred to would now be available to every student. And we will then be able to work as a district to ensure that no matter where you live in DeKalb, you will have an equal access to a quality education, which I believe is my charge and my responsibility.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Great question, by the way.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Thurman, you will bring this back to the board in May.
Yes, sir. And the primary purpose of tonight was for Mr. Arnold to report out and for me to state to the board, based on the information I've been able to receive, my recommendation as to the intent. And if the board gives me permission, we will proceed now with developing a process as to how we would begin to write a charter going forward.
So we need to take a vote on that intent or just acknowledge that intent?
I think an acknowledgement, I don't think, unless the board wanted to.
I don't think it's necessary. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Flexibility, the next growth and achievement model. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Chairman. Before we move on, for our listening audience and television audience, from a May 5th standpoint, when we present again the more detailed timeline and process, with that stand, can you elaborate a little bit on May 5th?
Yes, sir. Well,
what's going to be presented? Yeah.
Right. We had to wait until we knew what the superintendent's recommendation and decision was before moving forward. The major process and what needs to be done between now and May 5th is to determine what sort of steering committee needs to be formed, what that should look like, and what should be the primary objectives in completing this petition. There are some important considerations in drafting a charter petition that must be taken into play. It's been said in the past from the Department of Education and other individuals that when you look at a charter petition, particularly at a system level, it's less about the flexibility and the waivers and more about the governance and the autonomy that's granted to the local school. So how that looks and how that functions is going to be a big piece of the drafting going forward all the way up until the November submission date. But what we've got to do before May 5th is develop a committee, get the right individuals to make sure that we kind of have a ability to track to make sure that we get those objectives met and have that petition completed in a very quick timeline.
So just from a clarification of the timeline process, May 5th is kind of the initial start date for the preparation of our district's petition to go to the state in November of 2014.
Correct.
And the implementation date of the district is when?
The implementation, well, the district would submit the petition by November 1st. If the State Board of Education approves it, we would begin operating as a charter system at the 15-16 school year. Because it has to, in order for a petition, when a petition is submitted to the Department of Education, it takes upwards of 6 months for it to fully cycle through the Department of Education, then make it to the State Board of Education, their April meeting for their approval. So we're trying to make their April meeting.
But, and all of this is contingent upon how quickly or efficiently the Georgia Department of Education responds. It is in a state of flux right now.
And they're looking for a new leader.
Absolutely. So we don't want to, suggest that there's a hard and fast timeline. It's contingent upon the State Department of Education. And this law is a state law, so every district is going through this process. And so there is a belief, a reasonable one, that there might be scores of charter petitions that have to be evaluated and voted upon. And so we just don't know how quickly that process might unfold.
I appreciate the explanation and just want to verify that we will take care of our business in DeKalb and let the state take care of theirs. But I do appreciate your presentation and your recommendation, Superintendent Thurman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Will you be addressing growth and achievement? Okay, we'll talk that off. At this time, I call for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Dr. Carter, second by Dr. Morley. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. Okay, 9 and approved. It is approved 9-0. Action item, ready for action, amendment to the bylaws and policies. Mr. Orson, are you jumping up and down?
It's only been 11 months, so. And what I'm going to end up offering to do, there are some minor changes that I will detail just so that the audience knows, but I will offer to amend by substitution the document so we don't have to read every finite word in here, but through some good faith discussions we had this afternoon in between the work session and the business session, we made a few modifications and also got some clarification between the administration and where we were going with the policy, and I think that was really the most important part. And I'll just highlight what those changes were. Most of the policy as it was written remains intact. There were some clarification of just wordsmithing, but the main changes are the local schools will be able to retain $2,500 in a local account under the rules that we've established here. We have taken out the ability to transfer money between schools, and I think there was actually very good rationale provided by the aftercare office that was really consistent with this policy, which is that money earned locally should stay locally. And we may have to revisit that and other things depending on the future in terms of flexibility models, but that's something to be addressed down the road. We put in one more condition in terms of approvals for amounts above $5,000, which was that any such expenditures cannot be materially inconsistent with the district's purchasing policy, so that they're not out of alignment with that. And then we did a little other wordsmithing to make sure that the purchasing policy, that we weren't circumventing the purchasing policy by language in this. But otherwise, I think this is good to go, and I would like to offer proposed policy DKA, that the document that is before the board, that it be offered as the final policy, and propose that it be offered by amendment in substitution as an amendment, so that we can consider it as a board as a whole and hopefully approve it.
Mr. Chair, I got one more issue with no, I'm just kidding.
Is there any discussion? Voting on the amendment first. Okay. Is there any discussion again? Hearing none. Call for the vote. Jim, are you going to vote tonight? Okay, it's approved 9-0. So that is the amendment. The amendment is approved to accept the amendment. Now we're going to vote for the amendment. Okay. Moved by Mr. Orson, second by Dr. Carter. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, a call for the vote. Thank you. Well, I touched it. I've raised my hand. 9-0. Passes 9-0. Okay. Board comments? No board comments. I refer the citizens to the announcements, and I call for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Dr. Carter, second by Dr. Morley. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. Nobody wants to leave. Turn it off. Give me no by show of hands. All right, we are adjourned.